I've been on a little bit of a PvP video series lately, so I figure I should make one on the Defender Hull, the Fire Breather. By the way, if you haven't checked out the PvP Conqueror videos I made, I would go ahead and do that. I will also mention that all the builds I'm showing here are shown in the builds document, which is in the description of all of my YouTube videos. You can find the hash codes which you can copy in there. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. I will also mention that this is a PvP video. If you don't like me doing those and think they're Alliance secrets, well, they're not, and you just should not watch them. This also isn't going to be the best fire breather hole in every single scenario, although I will discuss a few different options you have. Just consider those and make your own decisions with what to use. Now, the first thing you're going to want to decide for the ship is, do you want stationary or moving? And that's going to be depending on if you can keep your gates alive, because if you can do that, your ships will stay back behind them perfectly fine, otherwise they'll get lured out and killed. You should also consider the range you're going to be running into with the enemy ships. The Helmars have a relatively short range, but the Hololight or Hololight cruisers do have a range of 95, which is considerably longer. In any case, let's go ahead and take a look at the weapons you want to use, which is really only one option, the Battle Blast Flamethrower. The range is 92 just to get started there, which is really close to 95, so keep that in mind. For this first one, I'll just go ahead and decide to show it with a hull that is stationary. That's going to be using the new Stalwart Sentinel Engine 2, which gives you damage across the board and no combat speed. The minus 500 combat speed is why you're using this, not really for the damage. I guess it's nice. The 50 million armor points, not really doing anything to the 600 million defender one you have on there. It's less than a 10% increase, but every little bit helps. Now, in terms of the radioactive specials you're going to want to start using, you want things that are helping you deal damage. So that's going to be a few different options there. You have things like the base one is going to be the charged plasma array. I believe this actually came out with the fire breather here. Maybe something from last year could have had that a little bit wrong. This gives you reload and damage, both of which are very nice because you have throwers on here, so these are great. Now, you're also going to want to use other things that are helping with your radioactive damage. So you have things like the radioactive reload special, the insulated charge capacitors. And again, this is here to help give you that radioactive reload. If you look at the base hull, there's no supercharge on here. That's not really helping. It's just the reload you are after. This hull doesn't really do a lot of damage by itself. You're going to want to have 3 of them all grouped up as of right now, as for the best possible chance of actually hitting things, and you really need to max out the damage because it isn't the highest. At this point, you're going to want to use the Radioactive Ignition Special 2 for the plus 50% radioactive reload. The splash and spread, is okay, but really this is here for the radioactive damage, not reload for this one, plus 50% radioactive damage. Make sure you don't put on the viscosity regular accidentally here. That wouldn't be nearly as good. So that's what you want that guy for. The last one here you can play around with. There are a few options. You could do some evade, although the conquerors we have today are not really going to benefit too much from evade with things like the rockets being dumbfire and shockwaves just hitting everything, although it probably would slow the build of shockwaves for accuracy-based shockwaves. You could go with a Agility System 4. I'm not going to. I'm going to throw on something else to help maximize my damage, which is probably going to be, either 2 options. Either you're going to increase the damage or you're going to decrease the damage, and that's all going to depend on what is hitting you. So what you're going to go for is radioactive scope or radioactive force. Radioactive force here would reduce your range and give you more damage, which is great. You can kill things 15% more quickly. Radioactive scope would allow you to actually hit the Hololight cruisers and not have those outrange you, which is very tempting to me. So if your base is being flattened a little bit more by Hololights, you're probably going to want to think about this one, especially if it is a stationary hull. Now, if you can end up moving, you're probably better off using the Force anyway, or just going with one that touches neither, like the upgrade. A few things to think about there. Do you want to for sure hit the Hololights, or do you want something that doesn't quite do it and can move around a little bit more quickly? Those are just some things that you should be thinking about. In terms of the armors, there are a few things. Well, actually, let me give you a final decision. The way I have my 3 ships built right now is radioactive force, so I'm going to recommend that one rather than scope, just for the sake of giving you an answer for this video. In terms of the armors, you have a few different choices here. You can use these defender armors, although the disadvantage is the deflection they give you is completely useless because deflection does not matter in new PvP stuff, which you'll know if you watch the video I made on the Hollite Cruiser. So you're really just going to be wanting to put on something that helps maximize evade, which is going to be something like the D10 EVs or the D5 EVs if you don't have the limited ones. That will be okay and will help a little bit there, and actually it's just going to be the regular evade armors because they're Conqueror locked here. For the EV10 locked to Conquerors, so you're just going to have to throw on the D5 EV armor. It will add some repair time, but whatever. This will maybe help you a little bit here against the launchers that are, for the accuracy based ones, although you might just want to leave it blank in any case. It's really not going to be too much effective. So I'll go ahead and change the scope back to a force there, but it's just something for you to think about as you are, considering your builds and stuff like that. So that's the video. That's the build I have here for you. If you've got questions on this, go ahead and leave a comment below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. There's a few things that we can start to play around with. I will also mention, for those of you who got this far in the video, we are expecting a new Conqueror special, which is the Conquest Battery, in the upcoming bounty. There is another special with a radioactive sounding name. It might go on the Firebreather, it might not. I'm not sure at this point. If that does come out, it's going to change builds around a little bit, assuming it does any damage worthwhile, or help us with reload or some other effect, so that may be actually worth putting on the ship if it does come out. I'll try and make a video when Bounty comes out discussing that just a little bit more closely. With that said, I want to go ahead and give a huge thank you to those whose names appear on screen right now. They're helping make the channel possible and helping support build videos like this. With that said, and until next time, this is going to be Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.